Hey there, family. It's Daryl Jones, your host of Family on Trial, and entering the courtroom of life to speak on behalf of the family today is Hannah Spier. She is a wife, mother, and the author of a Substack called Psychobabble. She has written several articles that have caught my eye, and one in particular we're going to discuss today. Have the child-free fur parents crack the code to happiness? So we'll get into that in a little bit. So, hey Hannah, how you doing? How's it going?
Hi, Drew. It's good to be here with you.
Oh, thanks for joining us. We're really glad that we were able to get this time to kind of speak to each other. This is a topic I don't see a lot about this here in the U.S., but I see it all around me. We don't hear about it, but I see it, and so I thought this would be great to discuss and or just have this discussion in general. So, Hannah, I mentioned you're a mother. You're also a wife, but you're a psychiatrist by trade as well,
hmm
correct?
Yeah. So I'm a medical doctor, and I've done 6 years of residency in psychiatry, and I have a degree in psychotherapy from the University of Zurich.
Excellent. So let's just jump right into this. And I mentioned the title already. I'll read it again. Have the child-free fur parents cracked the code to happiness? And anytime anyone has cracked the code to happiness, I am all ears because I want to hear all about that. But you did pose a
Me too.
question. You did pose a question. And so let's get into this question. There has been like this rise of child-free fur parents. And
hmm
and that's a loaded term because it's really two terms in there. It's child free and fur parents, and then you put it all together and you come up with this mismatch of an idea that we kind
Right.
of unpack. So can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Right. Of course. Yeah. So, well, it started with this report that came out last year that 1 in 4 choose to have uh, pets over kids, and then another one that was the first one to really uh, split who the group who can't have kids and those who choose not to have kids, which is a very important distinction to make. And that was also 1 in 4. So there's a reason we now see this all around us. And I encounter it also a lot in therapy, in my personal life, and psychologists have said for a long time that that this group of child-free, childless people are happier than people with kids. So that's also something that we've known for a while. But
That was,
yeah,
I'm
hmm?
sorry to step on you there. That was something that came up in one of the studies where was the assertion that the child-free um, fur parents were happier than parents who had children.
hmm
Well,
Yeah,
what is this?
yeah. No, I mean, uh, we're both parents, so that's easy to believe, right? Or if you take at any point that you ask, okay, who is happier, then yeah, the child free will say we're happier. But is that the goal? That's also something I write about. And should you aim to be happy, or should you aim for what's meaningful?
Yeah, you pointed out that um, in one of your articles, well, in an article that we're citing, that when did happiness have to get into the ring with being a parent, with having a child, and box against happiness? When did that start? When did that happen? Because yeah, as you point out, we're both parents, and while I experience happiness with my children, I personally I'm of the thought process that my children aren't there to make me happy. I'm
hmm
there to be a parent. I'm to give loving, kind guidance to them, and I draw a sense of I guess fulfillment from that.
hmm
And so
hmm
I don't I'm not in that mindset of, and I think that's what was most interesting that drew me out to this article when I was reading. I'm like, no, that's exactly how I feel. I feel fulfilled, not happy. My happiness is contingent upon me, not my children. So,
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
you pinpoint when this started? Is that,
Yeah, but that's hard to pinpoint exactly when it started. But
yeah,
it's been going on for a while that we're nurturing the self, and anything that makes the self feel good, anything that'll raise your self-esteem, all these things, that's a good in itself, no matter what that is. And you're not really allowed to judge whether that is good or not. If someone says this is good for me, then that's that. So I think it comes a little bit from there, that whatever we can do to take care of the self and make the self feel good, then that should be kept just that way. So what I hear and I've heard for a while from patients, clients, is that this loss of freedom or creature comforts, as I like to think of them, when you have a child, is a threat to this state of happiness that I have now. I am happy in my life now, so why should I rock the boat? Because there's such a huge risk to have children. What if that makes me unhappy and then I can never have again what I have now? And then you would say, like I was there before I had kids, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. Is, well, you wait and see. You will become a person who will like having kids. You won't, or you won't mind not having those freedoms anymore. So don't worry, you will transform.
mhm.
And I believe that's okay. It's a leap of faith. They're all doing it, so must be something in it. So let's go. But now I hear, well, I don't want that transformation to happen. I don't want to even be a person that doesn't think about the self first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I think part of that, as you've pointed out before, is when you're spending 10 to 15 years of your adult life living that single life, living in a
Mm-hmm.
where you're not responsible for anyone but yourself. You can go out and eat with your friends,
Mm-hmm. And travel,
go
that's a
clubbing,
big,
and
that's a big
travel.
thing. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to prevent you from doing that. And then you get so accustomed to that lifestyle, right? The thought of having
Absolutely.
children,
You're right. Because the three things that they state is it's going to cost a lot, which is true. Um, and this, well, it would take away the focus on the career, or it would disturb my career path. So wait and wait and wait, later, and sometimes later becomes never, and that's when they'll end up at ours.
right? Well, and then here comes the fur parent, and
Mm-hmm.
here comes the substitution, as opposed to because and please correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but in my estimation, they're looking to substitute because at some point there's a realization that they're either not happy or not fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely that. I mean, I just see it in the choice of dogs, right? The the tiny little dogs that have to be carried everywhere and taken care of. Why would you choose a dog that needs that much care?
I,
Because they're anxious.
right. Well, and yes, and my wife and I was uh, I guess it was be 3 or 4 days ago. We were out with our daughter, and we have a 2-month-old, so she's in a stroller, and we're in this restaurant, and we're getting to our table as another couple is walking in, and they have a stroller, and so you kind of make that knowing head nod towards the
Uh-huh.
other parents.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, oh, you got a little one, we got a little one. It's all unspoken, but it's just that glance, that exchange in that moment. And they're like, oohing and awing over our baby girl. And then you pull the cover back on their stroller, and there's this dog in there. And I'm like, I feel so duped right now. We were not exchanging knowing
Okay.
or
What did you do?
I, what can you do? It's like, oh, yeah, she's beautiful. I'm not gonna be rude. I don't begrudge, and listen, I don't begrudge anybody their lifestyle
Yeah,
choices.
I love dogs. Yeah,
Oh,
don't
we
get me
have a dog.
wrong.
Well, we have a
Yeah.
dog. And I don't begrudge anyone their lifestyle choice. As long as it's not hurting me. Um,
Hmm.
but I will not. And in that moment when I say I felt duped, what I won't do is I I won't force you to think or do what I do, but but don't force me. Don't force it upon me either. And I saw that stroller, and I'm like, oh, are we putting dogs in strollers? I mean, they're born with 4 legs. They're literally designed to walk.
Yeah, they need exercise, but these tiny dogs, they really don't need that much exercise. And then if you choose one, if you have a very active life, but you still choose one that needs that much care, then you have to ask, are you trying to fill a maternal void with that? That's my thought.
And so with that, yeah, because oh my, you just nailed it in my estimation. There's a void, and there's a realization that there's a void, and in
Hmm.
my estimation, it there's a certain element that is attempting to fill the void without saying they're filling a void. They're trying to justify what it is they're doing without actually saying, hey, I was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have spent my entire 20s and in the early parts of my 30s, partying and traveling. I probably
Hmm.
looking to settle down. I probably should have been thinking more about family, but now here I am. So now I'm a fur parent, and
Right.
instead of acknowledging, hey, yeah, I goofed up, and this is just going to be my life now, and I own it. It's got to be, I'm a fur parent, and you're a parent, and we're the same. Mm,
Right. That's also it
mm,
drives me insane.
mm,
Yeah, they're just like little kids. When they're puppies, they're just like little babies.
mm.
There are some similarities, but not at all. Absolutely not at all. And I think there's also this fear of taking on responsibilities. So you want to you want to take on a little bit, but there's no greater responsibility than for another human. It is the greatest thing that we'll ever do. And I think the longer you wait, the scarier that gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had a message um, about what to communicate to your kids in
Hmm.
your article, and it's actually fairly similar to what I have we have an 18-year-old
Hmm.
and a 2-month-old. So we are just broad spectrum here over here. We have just a full range of the way you communicate with
The
the
feelings.
yes. And so we have to deal with that, and
Hmm.
to me it's great. But there's a certain message that I've given my uh 18-year-old, and it started when she was a teenager, actually, when she 13, 14, and just kept having that conversation. But you bring up some good points in your article about what you should be communicating to your children as they're growing up, and can you highlight some of that?
Yeah, yeah. I I try to direct my focus onto what can we do differently in raising the next generation, not just criticizing what people are doing now. Really, feel free to choose the pets. That's fine by me. But my problem is that our offices are filling up with people who aren't doing well. And my problem is that these choices that are leading to very poor mental health. And so I really want to message differently to kids and teens now. And instead of focusing on this, do whatever makes you happy, like we grew up with, whatever makes you happy will also fulfill you. That there's then automatically there's fulfillment in what makes you happy. That's not the case. So I want to tell them what makes you happy now is not the same thing as what's going to make you happy in 10 years or 20 years. So instead of focusing on that, try to set up your life so that you have pillars of meaning, because life is going to throw really ugly things at you. You have to, at some point, in the end, you have to meet your mortality. You're gonna have to deal with the sickness. We're going to die. Your parents are going to die. You have to set yourself up so that you're ready for that. And your career alone is not going to be that thing that's going to make you want to go on. And of course, and I've had some negative comments that that just because you have kids doesn't make you resilient. And that's also not what I'm saying, but it's one path of meaning that has given us meaning for thousands of years. And so there is something in that, and having a career that gives you that equal sense of meaning is extremely rare.
Agreed. People spend a lot of time searching for the purpose of life. And I've stumbled across a long time ago, and I try to keep this in mind, that one of the greatest things you can do, one of the biggest purposes you can engage in this life is being of service to others, of providing and nurturing and guiding someone else so that their life can be better. And what better avenue, or I should say, there aren't as many avenues that is as great as being a parent to a child. And it does require some form of sacrifice. It does require you to pour yourself into them, and that fulfillment that comes from being of service. And there's a few jobs where you are of service to others, but generally those jobs don't pay well, and those are the jobs that you do need to set up some sort of other support system, because you know that it's not gonna always pay the bills, and those are the jobs that most people don't seek out to fulfill themselves. The jobs that these people are going out and choosing not to have children because they're going career first are the types of jobs that tend to lead to just another level of selfishness. So
look, I when I was in high school in the summers, I used to work in nursing homes, and I'd have quite some time to speak to the elderly there, and I really liked it. They had really interesting things to say. But what really struck me was they would never speak about their jobs. That was already 20 years past. They would speak about their kids and their grandkids and what they were doing, and their nephews and nieces and people they'd met. It was all about relationships. And there's also this psychotherapeutic exercise that's very effective, and it's called Tombstone. So it's having someone who's very stuck, depressed, burnt out, write their what they would want said on their tombstones or write their eulogies. Is extremely effective. But no one ever writes CEO, employer. That's usually not what comes out of that exercise.
I'm glad you bring that up, and that's very well said, because towards the end of your life, as you get older, I know my parents and my wife's parents enjoy seeing the grandkids. They enjoy having everybody come around for dinners and special occasions, and so most are retired, and like my mom has probably been retired now for probably close to 15 years at this point, if not maybe a little bit longer than that. She never brings up her job. she I can remember the last time she brought up her, the good old days back at work. No, she's she's in her retirement years. She's doing the things that she wants to do, and these are the things that she discusses. And I think we unfortunately, uh, especially in the West, um, we we have engaged in this ideology that somehow work is fulfillment, having no children is fulfillment, and even avoiding marriage until it's just the absolute last moment is somehow fulfilling until you hit that mid-30 range, and then I, I can't speak to your practice, but perhaps you can amen this. Uh, you start getting more and more folks coming around to, oh my goodness, what did I do? Now, I'm 34, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 45, and
yeah, I mean, this is the first time now that we have half of women over 30 not having kids yet or at all. And it's astonishing. 1 in 3 have fertility problems. Obviously, as a result, the later you start, the harder it is. And we're spending a lot of money on fertility treatments, and that's just hell. It really is. And this pain of so many women they waited too long, and then you're mid-30s and 30s, and you're not conceiving, or you're not being able to have more kids. That pain, it's raw. It's
yeah, and
really, this is why I'm so this is why this is very important to me.
and the sad irony is, especially when you speak of, excuse me, IVF issues, in vitro fertilization, the necessity for in vitro fertilization is the expense is paid for through the 401ks that have been so diligently cultivated during the time when most of these women were the most fertile, when it would have been thoroughly unnecessary. So the trade-off there's always a trade-off. We live in a society where we tell people that they can be anything they want, do anything they want for however long they want, and then the clock catches up.
That's not true. Yeah, it's a lie. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reality catches up, and now you have to exchange your nest egg that you were so sure was the one thing that you wanted the most as part of your career, is now being traded for a child, or you just continue to consider yourself a fur parent, and neither.
Right.
I mean, that's where we are, and it's an unfortunate situation, and what we are communicating, we as a society is communicating to children today, is not based on reality, it saddens me to see so many people consider children a burden, or something that should be avoided. Parenthood should be avoided, and it's sad. It's just very sad. Thank you so much for this time that you've taken to be with Family on Trial. You do have a Substack, and I know you're working on some other projects. So
yeah, we have a podcast coming out 15th of March called "What Should I Tell My Daughter," which is I'll also put out on my Substack. So go there and subscribe. I think that will be a very, very interesting listen.
Outstanding. And so the Substack links are in the description below. And I, I need you to come back, especially when we. I mean, especially I have 2 daughters, and so we can talk to daughter
There are
to.
a lot of topics to cover,
Oh
guys.
yeah, we
I'll
can.
get ready.
Yeah, so I would love to have you back, but thank you for your time, and I really
Thank
appreciate
you for
your
inviting
insight.
me.
Oh, anytime. It's been great.
Interesting topic.
Yeah, it's been great. So thank you, and we will see
Thank you.
you on the next go round. So, family, very interesting discussion. We're not here to tell you what to do or how to go about your life. We're just here to give you a different version of, actually, not even a different version, just give you some different insights that are probably contrary to what you have been seeing and hearing and listening to from various aspects across society, whether it be from Hollywood to your family. We're just here to bring something a little different, something else for you to consider, because all is not lost. And while all is not well, it can get well. And it's going to take us together to get there. Thank you so much for being here, Family on Trial. Dear family, your support would be much appreciated. So if you would think it not robbery, could you head over to PayPal or Venmo and show us some love? Just type at Family on Trial and you'll come right to our account. Send us a blessing if you would. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.